Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and welcome to our episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for today comes from a lot of you, because I'm constantly bombarded with it, and that is, do I think that Glaz needs a nerf? Well, you're in luck because the developers think that Glaz needs a nerf. In their recent live stream of Operation Health, they talked briefly about balance, and one of the things they mentioned is that Glaz is too powerful. And so the way that they're going to go about nerfing this guy is that not only is he going to have a little bit more recoil for his shots, kind of probably reverting it back to what it was a couple patches ago, but they're also reducing his damage, so instead of killing your enemy with maybe 1 or 2 bullets, it's being bumped up to 2 to 3 bullets depending on how much armor they have, and then finally, which in a kind of a weird way, they're making it so that Ash and Thermite no longer have access to smoke grenades. Now, probably the most impactful change out of these is the reduction in his damage. Going to 1 more bullet for each kill is a significant difference, especially since Glaz, I believe, has the slowest rounds per minute weapon in the game, unless you're looking at the shotguns. That extra round could mean the difference between life and death. And so instead of rounding the corner against the Glaz, getting shot in the face, and then just flat out dying, or being put into the down but not out stage, you're gonna have at least a little bit more time to retaliate and maybe get a headshot against him. Another thing I found interesting about this is I think this is the first time that Ubisoft has nerfed one class to nerf another. Thermite and Ash are incredibly powerful right now. They're constantly picked on offense because they provide a lot of utility. Thermite, of course, gets you onto the objective. Ash just has one of the best weapons in the game. She's super fast, she's got great utility, and so by eliminating the smoke grenades from those 2 operators, which brings a lot of utility in itself, their thinking is that because they're constantly picked, you're no longer gonna have that smoke screen anymore. Glaz is still gonna have his, which I find kind of baffling. I would have figured that they would just remove the smoke grenades from Glaz so that if you want to use that smoke grenade tactic, you're gonna have to use teamwork, but this seems to be a way that they're getting around it. And so all in all, I think it's clear that Ubisoft is still struggling to balance this guy out, and I don't blame them. When you bring in a sniper class like this into Rainbow Six Siege, where every other weapon can just get a headshot against you, how do you make a slow rate of fire yet high damage weapon work? It's not going to be easy, and clearly it hasn't been easy. For the longest time, when the game released, Glaz was one of the worst operators in the game. Sure, you had a couple of people that could make him work, but on average, he was just not a very competitive pick. He's seen a couple of buffs along the way, but the real change was when he got that thermal optic. As soon as that happened, while I like the fact that he now feels like a sniper. He's going to acquire you first. I really like that aspect, because they made all those other changes in the past and then just added this further. It has made him a bit too powerful. And so my hope is that this is going to put him in a good place. I don't think this is going to nerf him into oblivion. If you're worried that all of a sudden Glaz is going to be useless, I don't think that's going to be the case. He's still going to be a menace. He's still going to be able to shoot you through walls, find you in those really small nooks and corners where no one normally would be able to see you. And so in general, I think this is going to be a good thing, and I cannot wait for this change to finally go live. The next question comes from Peyton, and it is, what do you think if they made it so that when Twitch dies, someone could pick up the controls for the shock drone and were able to use it? Well, I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea, but it kind of leads to something that I've been thinking about for a while, so I'm going to use your question as a platform here. I would love it if other people could view through Twitch's drone. One of the reasons why I love to play as Twitch is that her drone is incredibly powerful. Not because it can take care of gadgets, but mainly because it's just super sneaky. It doesn't make a lot of noise, and that allows me to get it onto the objective, gather information, and then use that information to my advantage to breach on in and take everyone out. When I'm able to get a hot breach through a window, it is one of the most satisfying things to do in Rainbow Six Siege, at least for me, and I think the Twitch drone makes that possible. My biggest issue with it, though, is the fact that no one in her team can actually peer through it as well. There's a lot of times where I have a great view of an enemy through the drone, and I want to call out to my teammate, hey, just look through this really quickly, let me know what happens. If he makes any position changes, let me know so that when I charge on in, I can take them down. I can't make that call out. If I was any other operator, that would be possible. And so if I could change one thing about Twitch, and even something about Echo, I don't think that this needs to be just exclusive to Twitch. I think this is one of the weaknesses with Echo as well, is why make it exclusive towards that operator? At the end of the day, it's all about gathering information. They're team-oriented gadgets. Valkyrie doesn't get exclusive rights to her cameras, and I know some Valkyrie mains would probably love this, but that would be against the spirit of the game, which is trying to facilitate teamwork. And so the only thing I can think of for why Ubisoft doesn't allow this is that they just think that it would be too powerful, but I just don't buy that. I mean, Echo isn't the best operator in the game. He's okay, he's pretty good in the right hands, but I think he would just be even better if they allowed more of that teamwork. If the Echo's running around, he can't use that gadget, and it would be awesome if he placed it in a prime location, and then his teammates, while they can't concuss anyone, they can't use the gadget that way, but at least they can view what's happening and make those callouts. Same for Twitch's drone. And so while I don't agree with your idea that someone should be able to pick up the controls and drive it around and all of a sudden become Twitch, I don't think that should be the case. I would love if they just acted like every other drone in the game and allowed for that kind of teamwork. The next question is, what do you think about deployable shields becoming more solid so that they can protect against grenades and fuse charges? I would love if Ubisoft made some changes along these lines, because I find that the deployable shields, while not useless, they do have their purpose, are nowhere near as powerful as some of the other operator gadgets. For example, the barbed wire. If you have access to barbed wire over the deployable shield, 99% of the time, you're gonna pick barbed wire because it's just the better gadget. I mean, right now, barbed wire is probably one of the better gadgets in the game. I even take it over C4 because I think it's that good. But I just think that speaks volumes for how useless the deployable shield is right now. There's a lot of counters to it. I mean, if you're trying to perform a specific tactic, maybe you want to place this down in a doorway, place a trap underneath it like CanCan or Frost. Maybe you're trying to protect yourself when you're playing as Mira and you want to sit in one location that's exposed from some angle. You want to put that deployable shield down to protect you. Like, that's all valid tactics, but more often than not, you're not going to pick that gadget because it's just underwhelming. That said though, if they did decide to improve it and make it more resilient against grenades, maybe they made it a bit larger so that it blocked more radius and that you could hide behind it easier. Like, all these would be great changes, but I still think they would also need to go in and ensure that you can't exploit with it. I find more and more that whenever I see a deployable shield, it's not to protect anyone, it's to make it so that they can't vault through a window. I'm sure you guys have noticed this. Someone places it down perpendicular to a window and now you can't vault on through. You can rappel in, but if that window doesn't allow you to rappel next to it, you're kind of out of luck. You've probably seen this on Cafe, where someone places this in the middle of the fireplace, and you can't get through there unless you're able to blow that up. Who knows? Maybe Ubisoft actually thinks that this is a valid tactic, and this is exactly how you should be using the deployable shield. I don't think that's the case. And so as long as those aren't possible anymore, I'd be okay with them becoming more resilient to grenades, Ash's charge, for example, just so that you can hide behind it, use it as a fortification, use it to lock down a corridor, which I think is exactly what they were meant to be used for. The next question comes from James, and it is, what do you think about an operator in Rainbow Six Siege that has throwing knives that he can throw to one-shot the enemy? It would be really easy to see and dodge. This is a question that I see pop up every once in a while, and I do sort of see where they're coming from. The idea of having a highly skilled operator, because this would require a lot of finesse, it would require a lot of coordination, you need to be able to predict the enemy movement, throw this thing and take them down. I get the appeal of that, but I also don't think that it's necessary whatsoever to have someone like this in the game. We're using awesome weapons. I mean, every single gun can drop someone with one bullet if you hit them in the face. Why would you want to throw a knife at someone when you have access to these high-powered assault rifles? And while once again, I see the appeal. Someone's about to round the corner, you know they're about to round the corner, you ready up your ninja star, you ready up your throwing knife, he rounds it, you throw it right in his face, he's point blank, he has no time to react, and you take him down. That does sound appealing. Like, from a video standpoint, that could result in some really funny and incredible moments. Like, I understand where you're coming from, I just don't think it's necessary for Rainbow Six Siege. With all the other operators that we have right now, I just can't see this guy being competitive. Ubisoft has stated numerous times that when they bring in a new class, when they bring someone new to the table, they want them to change up the meta. They want to mix things up. They want them to change the way that we play Rainbow Six Siege, and I just don't see that happening with someone who has an easily dodgeable knife that requires a lot of skill. It might be fun to use, it may result in a lot of laughs, but why would you pick this guy over Thermite, Habana, or some of the other amazing gadgets that we have in the game? And so while clearly people like the idea, I think at the end of the day, it would just turn more into a gimmick. But yeah, guys, that is it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Give me your thoughts on what we discussed today. Do you like the idea of having a throwing knife operator in Siege? Do you think that's not a good idea? Let me know down below in the comments. As always, if you would like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.